Hi everybody, Dan Illman here with the DRFBets race of the day for Thursday, September the 6th. Stakes action. Race number 9 at Kentucky Downs is the $250,000 Old Friends Stakes. You can bet this great Kentucky Downs card, big full fields with a DRFBets account. Sign up at drf.com/bet and receive 10 times the sign-up bonus. Bet 20, get 200. Here's the field for the Old Friends Stakes. This is a restricted event at 1 mile and 70 yards for 3-year-olds and up which have not won a stakes race in 2018. You can download free Formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Download them, handicap along with me. I'll take the field in post position order, beginning with the number 1, Zapparini. And Zapparini is in much improved form for trainer Greg Foley. This horse was gelded over the winter, and ever since then, he has finally gotten an opportunity to stretch out around 2 turns in his last 2 races. And those 2 races have resulted with really good efforts, arguably the 2 best efforts of his career. Most recently, it took everything the odds-on favorite Arklow could give to deny Zapparini in the shadow of the wire. Zapparini tried to take that field on a gate-to-wire gambit and going 1.25 miles, and he was just run down late by Arklow. Now, he didn't have to go very fast that day, and that pace held up in that Kentucky Downs Preview Turf Cup at Ellis Park. It's going to be a little bit different this time around with a speedball like Siem Reap in this field. I think Zapparini is going to be taking on a tracking position, a little bit different than his most recent race. It'll be interesting to see if he can run that same race as last time when he doesn't get an easy lead. He's the kind of horse that I would use as a deep backup in multiple race wagers, and a horse that I would use underneath in single race exotics like the Exacta and Trifecta. The number 2, Dr. Mounty, looks like a very strong contender for trainer Shug McGahee. I really liked his last 2 races. One of them at Delaware Park on June the 28th was a race in which there was just no pace at all, and Dr. Mounty was stalking 3 wide at the back of the pack. He swung widest turning into the lane, and he finished 3rd behind Glorious Empire, who came back to win a very, very big race, the Sword Dancer at Saratoga. He had a gigantic meeting at Saratoga, did Glorious Empire. Last time out in the Oceanport at Monmouth, Shug took off the blinkers for Dr. Mounty, and he responded by being a lot closer to the pace. Now, while the pace figures, according to Timeform US, are color-coded blue in that they were rather slow and it should have helped Dr. Mounty, I thought Dr. Mounty did a lot of work chasing the leader that day, Mo Maverick, and by the time he collared Mo Maverick and made the lead in the upper stretch, here came the classy closer Synchrony, the odds-on favorite up the rail. Synchrony's just a better horse than Dr. Mounty. He came out of that race to win the Grade 3 Red Bank with a 97 Beyer speed figure. Dr. Mounty's getting class relief. Jose Ortiz takes the mount. I like his tactical speed. The distance is good for him, and he's a player at 8-1 in this race. I would use him in multiple race wagers. The 10-year-old Dimension is next, and we always talk about horses for courses, especially at Kentucky Downs. Dimension won the Kentucky Downs Turf Dash way back in 2014. He's still kicking around. He didn't have much of a chance in his most recent race, a race there was no pace up front. He tried to rally from last, and there just wasn't anything there. 2 starts back, he's 74-1 in the graded Connaught Cup at Woodbine. He doesn't fit against those kind of horses. He's getting the class relief he needs, but he's 10 years old right now, and you have to wonder if he's just getting a little bit long in the tooth. Trainer Connor Murphy's horses, though, do seem to do well at Kentucky Downs. An interesting horse in here is the number 4, Cowboy Culture. This is a very lightly raced 4-year-old for the high percentage trainer Brad Cox. He's won half of his lifetime 10 starts, and his most recent race, while no match for Siem Reap and a couple of others in here, he had no chance for 2 reasons. One, it was his first race in about 7.5 months, and he probably needed it badly. 2, there was no pace, and he was taken to the back of the pack by Corey Lanerie, and he just didn't fire in a one-paced effort. I would expect this horse to run a lot better in his second start of the form cycle, and if you get 8-1 switching back to Florent Giroux, who's been aboard all of Cowboy Culture's lifetime victories, that's a fair price. He's a horse that I could use as a B in multiple race wagers. Next Chairs is the number 5, and Next Chairs is getting some serious class relief. And if you think he didn't like the turf course at Del Mar, maybe you got a dirtied up runner. 3 starts back at Santa Anita. This horse only got beat a half length in a Grade 1 stakes race, the Shoemaker Mile, and he earned a triple-digit Beyer speed figure. He did not fire in his 2 subsequent races at Del Mar. I think he's going to like the turf course at Kentucky Downs. I think he's going to like the softer turf courses in the East Coast and the Midwest than what he's gotten recently at Del Mar. And if he didn't like Del Mar at all, Next Chairs has a puncher's chance from the back of the pack. He's going to need a little bit of pace, but he has run fast races against good company, and he's going to be running late in this race. Let's talk a little bit about Flatlined. He won the Old Friends back in 2016. Again, another horse that was probably compromised by the lack of pace going 1.25 miles last time out. I like him cutting back to this 1.70-yard distance. He is very comfortable at this distance. He can improve in his second start of the form cycle. It's just that he's stuck now, it seems, in the Beyer range of the low 90s, high 80s, and I think it's going to take a little bit more than that to win on Thursday. CM Reap looks like the pace setter. Timeform US agrees as we throw up the Timeform US pace projector. CM Reap walked the dog on the lead at Ellis Park last time out, and the odds-on favorite, Mr. Misunderstood, was pretty much lapped on him when they turned into the stretch. CM Reap tried hard all the way down to the wire. Mr. Misunderstood's just a better horse. He came back to run third in the Tourist Mile at Kentucky Downs last week with a 96 Beyer speed figure. CM Reap finished ahead of 4 of these common foes in that race, but he's going to get the lead. He might be pushed a little bit more this time around, and he really did get an easy pace setup last time out. I wonder if it'll be tougher for CM Reap in this spot. The number 8 is All Right. This horse won the Kentucky Downs Juvenile back in 2016. Last time out, again, in that 1.25 mile race, I thought he ran just fine. I think he is slowly rounding into form for a very good trainer in Kellen Gorder, but it's hard to overlook the fact that he was in for $30,000 3 starts back at the beginning of this year, and I think you do have to question his class in a race featuring so many horses dropping out of the graded stakes ranks. You think that All Right might be a nice stalker closer. He looks like he's going to be in a good position, the number 8, according to the Timeform US pace projector. I just trust some of the other closers a little bit more. The 9 Conquest Panthera is a horse that hasn't won a race in over a year, but he has kept very good company for Mark Casse. Now, the Casse barn struggled at Saratoga, but has shown signs of life the last week and a half or so. Winning a graded stakes race at Del Mar, they already have a winner at the Kentucky Downs meet, and Conquest Panthera exits the Lure Stakes at Saratoga, a race that was dominated by closers. The last run was the best run in the Lure, and Conquest Panthera made the first run in that race to take the lead at the 3/16 pole, and then he was run down by Inspector Lindley and projected. The 2nd and 4th place finishers of that race came back to run 3rd and 2nd respectively in last week's graded Bernard Baruch handicap, earning stereo 102 Beyer speed figures. Conquest Panthera is a horse that I think fits well enough at this 1.70-yard distance. I think he's got a little bit more tactical speed than Timeform US shows, and I think he's a prime contender in this race if he runs his usual Beyer, which is in the mid to high 90s. Parlor is the 10, and this is a horse I think he should keep a little bit of an eye on. He's run well at Kentucky Downs in the past, and he's coming out of that race that CM Reap set an easy pace, Mr. Misunderstood stalked, and they basically ran 1-2, 2-1 all the way around the track. Parlor in that race was trying to rally from the back of the pack. He tried to mid-move into that slow pace, and when they quickened away from him, I still think he was punching on gamely. He was only beaten 4 lengths, and consider the 2 starts back, he ran his best race of his career in the Grade 2 Wise Dan, only losing by a length with a 97 Beyer speed figure. All this horse needs is a little bit of pace. He's a horse that should be considered at 8-1. Trainer Wesley Ward entered the 11 undrafted, entered the 12 Master Marion. He expects to scratch undrafted and run him in the turf sprint later this week, which leaves Master Marion in this race. And Master Marion is a stakes winner at Kentucky Downs. He likes it here. He was overmatched at Royal Ascot in his most recent race. And the last time he ran on turf was his seasonal debut, where he ran really well against Offering Plan, who's a pretty classy horse, and Inspector Lindley, a horse that beat Conquest Panthera in the Lure. 2 starts back in the Hanshin Cup on synthetic. He took on 3 next out winners. He broke slowly. He rushed up. That trip never works out. The winner of that race, Matru, came back to run 3rd in the Grade 1 Stephen Foster on dirt with a 95 Beyer. There's a lot of things to like about Master Marion, but he is coming off a little bit of a layoff, and he's got to deal with a really tough outside post position. I wonder if Master Marion gets bet based off of his exploits at Kentucky Downs last year, based off the fact that Wesley Ward won with a Royal Ascot shipper last week, the very talented Bound for Nowhere stretching out in distance. I might keep an eye on Master Marion, but I'm not sure I want to play him at a relatively short price. If undrafted scratches, that would move Bondurant into the race. Bondurant ran last time out as a first-time gelding. He didn't have any pace to run at. He really didn't pick up his feet that much. And Bondurant's last win, we have to go back to October of 2016. I've always been a fan of this horse. It just doesn't seem like he has improved very much. Let's take a look at my top pick for the Old Friend Stakes. I think think Conquest Panthera gets the class relief he needs. I think he was against the flow last time out when he made the first move into the teeth of the pace, and then the last move was the best move, and he finished a solid third. But this is a spread race. I would use Conquest Panthera on top. I think CM Reap, if he can get a similar trip as last time out, Timeform US believes he can get the lead. He's a horse you have to consider. I think Dr. Mounty, the number 2, that horse is a must-use in any kind of multiple race wagers. The 5 Next Shares is a horse I would use underneath. I think he'll be running late. So I'm going 9, 7, 2, and 5. But a spread race in multiple race wagers, I could certainly go 9, 7, 2, and I could even throw in Parlor the 10 as a deep backup along with Zapparini. Fun race, the Thursday DRFBets race of the day. I take a shot with the 9 Conquest Panthera for Mark Casse. If you're playing this card, again, consider DRFBets and the 10 times the sign-up bonus that you'll receive when you go to drf.com/bet and sign up for a new DRFBets account. Approximate post time for the old friends. The feature race on Thursday, Kentucky Downs, 5:25 Central Time. Good luck.